Sci-Fi and Romantasy fans YouTube channel, and welcome to our second episode of Romancing the Sunday. Lauren's back to join us. Today we are reviewing The Selection by Kiera Cass, the first book in a dystopian romance series where 35 girls compete in a televised competition to win the selection, win Prince Maxon's heart, and a life of luxury inside the castle. It came out during that 2010 to 2020 Hunger Games dystopian era, and this is a dystopian future of the United States where there are 8 caste systems. The 8 are basically the homeless and 1s are royals, and the protagonist, America's Singer, is a 5, so she's smack dab in the middle of the caste system, who is pushed into this contest by her greedy mother, and these 35 girls compete to win the prince's heart and become the next queen. She's forced to choose between her true childhood love and the prince.
Yeah, so like you said, Aspen is a 6. So as a 6, they like clean houses, whereas Mare is a 5. So like her family is like musicians and they kind of do entertainment. Mare and Aspen have been like childhood friends, but for the last 2 years, they've had romantic feelings for each other. The book begins like with them talking about going off and getting married, which is a big thing for them because if she were to marry a lower class, she goes down to that class. So she would end up dropping to a 6, not a 5. Because of that, Aspen decides to make the decision that he doesn't want to do that to her and breaks up with her and kind of also pushes her towards the selection as well, thinking she might have a better life. And then, of course, that brings her to the palace. This book does have a love triangle trope to it, which many of you know I do not like that trope.
Yeah, Lauren's absolute favorite trope.
Between that and the miscommunication, I don't know which one I hate more. I know you are Team Aspen and I was Team Maxon, so I'll let you talk about why you're Team Aspen first.
The book went on, and these 35 girls are there, and there's this villain character, Celeste, who is such a bitch. They have these rules that, like, you can't fight with the other girls. If you have any sort of physical altercation, you get booted, and that's shown. Some of the girls get booted because they start fighting. Celeste rips America's dress. Like, she wants America's dress and America refused to give it to her. She rips America's dress. America has proof that this girl is a psycho, that this girl physically attacked her. And Maxon, the prince goes, well, I don't believe you because she's always been so nice to me, which that is exactly what enablers of abuse say about the abuser to victims. They've never done anything bad to me. Of course she's not going to do anything bad to you. She's trying to get you to marry her. You're not going to see the dark side. But when someone is supposed to care about you and you tell them that someone else was abusive towards you and they go, well, they never did anything to me, so I don't believe you. That's just like, I was like, screw Maxim. I'm Team Aspen 100% all the way. I felt like the author wrote herself into a corner because so many other characters got cut and Celeste never got cut. And I was like, come on.
I do agree with you with the ripping of the sleeve because another character, Anna, gets booted early on because of something, I think for a slap. And you could tell at that point his favoritism because she should have been sent home based on what happened.
At that point, I just lost all respect for Maxim in that moment. And that is why I didn't read the second book. That's why I stopped. And also, I didn't know it was going to be a series. And like, it kept going and going. And like, it took so long for like girls to get cut. And like, I'm about, at this point in the book. And like, there's still like so many contestants left. I'm like, oh, there's going to be a sequel. And then he did that. And I was like, yay, ISIS out.
So I can understand because Celeste is an awful character, right? And I think it's mostly because she's used to being a 2 and she's used to getting everything she wants and she doesn't have a great personality. Like, she's not likable. So she has to resort to these things. I gave Maxon a little bit of grace just because, it is a competition. America does go in saying to him, I don't love you. I'll never love you. From his point of view, he's like, well, I've got to try to find a wife within these 35. It's a competition. Like, who knows what else he's hearing? Maybe these girls are trying to sabotage each other just to get ahead. The only other reason I'd say I'm so much more Team Maxon than I was Team Aspen, kind of like I mentioned a moment ago, Aspen decided like, this is what's better for you. I'm breaking up with you. We talk about marriage. I'm going to do all these things. And he breaks her heart and is just like, I don't care what you want. I'm going to tell you what's best for you. And I can't stand when someone doesn't allow you to have a conversation and just tells you what they think is the best for you. But you see through throughout book one with Maxon, even when she was brutally honest and was like, I'll never love you, she tells him off, she kicks him in the groin and all these things, and knowing that she's not gonna love him from her own words, and he still kept her around. So I have a little bit of soft spot for Maxon for that.
But also, it was kind of like, if he knows America is not gonna love him, like,
Right.
she should have been cut then and there. You know what I mean? I can't remember, why did she stick around at that point?
Because he was in love with her. Even from the very, very beginning, he was in love with her. And so I think for him it was, one, he doesn't like being told what to do or who to pick or things of that nature. And two, I think it was a challenge for him. Like, I think he liked the idea of, I'm in love with this woman already from the moment I met her, from the moment she told me off, and thought maybe she might be able to change her mind.
Okay, so there, for that, he's still controlling and manipulative, and I'm Team Aspen.
But you're okay with Team Aspen breaking her heart and then basically telling her what she should feel, what she should do?
I feel like he did that because it was selfless. Like, he wanted to have her go off and have a life where she didn't have to struggle financially. So I felt like that was more selfless than, okay, I'm the prince, and so I get to manipulate you. Nobody's 100% in the right here. Nobody's in the 100% in the right. The fact that we are debating this shows that it's a fairly well-written book, okay? Miss Royal Insights, you're also more open to monarchy than I am. I don't like the idea of monarchy. We fought a war to get away from a monarch, American Revolution, hello, and then now suddenly we have a monarchy again. Like, I was just like, I did not like that. I hate the royal family for what they did to Princess Diana. I love her. I've always loved her, and I felt like the way Charles and the Queen treated her was just, ugh. So I don't like monarchies in general, okay? Which is, shows how good your book is. Your books are, that I'm able to read them and be
Modernize mine.
I met you and I started reading your book, and I was like, oh God, she's becoming like one of my closest friends, and I know there's a monarchy in this. Please let me like this. I can support it if the ruler is there for her people, does not go cling on to tradition, uses the monarchy to support the people. That's what I'm there for. So check out Lauren's Royal Insights series. Yeah, Crown Mystic, books 1 and 2 are out now. They're excellent. I admit I was a little bit prejudice against the prince starting reading this, but I still, like, that moment with Celeste was just like, everything I thought about you was, now I have backup.
You only read book 1, but if you finished, you would I think have a different opinion of Maxon.
Fair enough. I felt like America was a well-written, sympathetic character. Her mother is extremely materialistic. I mean, her mother is all about, let's advance. You've got to get into this competition so the whole family can be better off, because the girls who are rejected end up, I think they're automatically 2s just from having entered the competition. And so the mother wants the clout. Also, they're performers. So the mother is very conscious of how they look, of how they sound, of how the family's doing with, their singing and their status and their performances. She almost comes across like a stage mother. I hated the mom. And so I like the fact that America was not materialistic at all, being raised in that environment.
Probably to her dad, because her dad was a great character too. You don't get a lot of him in book 1, but you do throughout the rest of the series. And he was not materialistic. And it talks about how she gravitates more towards her father. So I think that's why she ended up being the way she was.
There's a crisis in the book about halfway through where the palace is being attacked by enemies, and America is the one organizing the girls, making sure everyone is calm. She fights for the right for her servant to be led into the safe place with all of the upper echelon, and the servants are supposed to go to another area where they're not as safe, and she fights for the right for her servant to go with her. And while she's down there, she's the one keeping everyone calm, she's the one keeping everyone organized. So yeah, she's a very easy character to like.
Yeah, and I actually loved that scene too, because you're talking about when she fights for them and then she gets down there and they're like, oh, great. Okay, well, let's start using your maids. And like, she has such an amazing line. And that's the first time you really see her acting like a princess, or could be like a princess. And that was one of my favorite things. And I'll say too, for a book like this, you're talking about things that you like. I mean, you have 35 girls. And I know, of course, in the beginning, you might get rid of some like right off the bat. But I think Cass did a really good job too of bringing in so many different personalities and being able to keep up with it. Because that's hard. I mean, it's hard to write side characters as it is, but to have to do 35 girls, I think she did a really good job of being able to have different personalities to keep up with that.
Some of them were like extras, you know what I mean? But there was a core, like you felt like you knew a good handful of them.
I also think she did a fantastic job with the ratio of world building to action. I think she did a really good job of being able to keep you interested, but also describing the world and what's going on, making you really feel it. I think she did a good job, just kind of like Hunger Games, where you can really have, like, as if you're in that world yourself, as if you're standing there watching it in front of you, but at the same time having all the action, you know, the girls, the rebels attacking, different things going on. So I thought she did a good job with the pacing.
I did too, but there was an exposition dump in this that I thought was so bad. In order to explain how the United States went from, as we know it today, to this monarchy, she had this class scene where they're having a history class. And the teacher is like listing these facts, like, and then in the year 2000, blah, 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 this happened. And the girls are like so excited to talk about this. This would be like, I was a history teacher, I was an English teacher and tutor, I worked with kids. This is not how students react to history lessons, okay? I've seen this before. So this would be like, and then in 1776, so the girls were like, yeah. Like, they were so happy and excited to talk about this. This is not the way students relate to history. And I felt like this was the worst exposition dump. We didn't need this scene either. If hundreds of years have passed, we don't need to know every single little detail of what happened in the history that made us turn into this. And like, when you read The Hunger Games, there isn't one scene that just like dumps all the information of exactly how we went from the United States to Pan Am. We didn't need this scene. And I was like, wow, you know, I wish my students had been this excited. Like, the level of excitement that these girls were reacting to this class, I was just like, come on.
My only counterpoint to that, I would say, is they didn't go to school in this caste system, right? They were very much guarded from any kind of truth. Whatever the palace said to them is what they were expected to believe, or brainwashed or whatnot. So I could see some of them being a little excited that, like, hey, we actually get to learn something. Like, it actually feels like a school because we never got that. But yeah, I felt like there could have been more dialogue with it versus just being like the teacher just like dumping it all on you, and not it being more through a dialogue conversation.
I always think with info dumps, give the reader little bits of information throughout the story. You don't have to do it in the first book. If it's going to be a series, you can hold it. Just have it happen organically in the story.
Yeah, I think she actually does a better job in book 2 to what you're saying. There is in book 2, there's a whole thing where you get to learn more about it through a situation, and it happens organically, I would say, throughout the chapters, not like in one scene like you mentioned here. So I think she does do a better job throughout this series of doing that versus just this one particular instance.
The selection is frequently described as The Bachelor meets The Hunger Games. In Teen Vogue in 2012, Kiera Cass said in an interview that she only watched The Bachelor after she had written this book. It is impossible to read this and not think about The Bachelor. I really hate reality TV. I despise it. I have always despised it. I've never seen an episode of The Bachelor except for one time when I had a friend who was into it, and I went over to her house and she was watching it and she refused to turn it off, and I was like, felt like I was being tortured. The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, only 20 to 30% of these relationships actually last.
Now, new video of The Bachelorette. The new season canceled after leaked videos showed Taylor Frankie Paul throwing chairs at her now ex-boyfriend.
Police say she hits him.
Hey, stop.
Video shows Taylor attacking Dakota inside her home, kicking him and throwing metal chairs at him.
Most of these people went on it to find instant fame, not to fall in love. There was a ton of problems on these shows, like abuse scandals and disregard for safety protocols on set. And I really liked the show Unreal. The co-creator was an executive producer, Sarah Gertrude Shapiro, worked as a producer on The Bachelor for several seasons. She used her experience on that show to create Unreal.
Hello, ladies.
Oh, nice. People are gonna hate her. Action. I want cat fights, nudity, 911 calls. Starve our villain Brittany until she is mean like a pit bull. What? Now we got a show.
It was a fictional behind-the-scenes look of like the surreal nature of the show, how contestants are manipulated because you're not dealing with actors, and so you have to get these dramatic encounters.
Subject 21 was in the psych ward twice. He's about to dump you.
Fiance died a year and a half ago.
Ask her, did you kill him?
Call the Emmys, baby.
So Unreal did a great job of revealing all the way the contestants were abused and mistreated.
Put Brandy in the hole.
You can't lock me in here.
Going for the kill.
Yeah, I am so right now.
Producers of the show cause drama between the contestants to get the shot and cause drama because, again, you're not dealing with actors.
We don't start to dislike each other until Rachel plants false information.
You focus on your future husband, okay? I'll take care of it. Yeah, deal.
Grace here, she's been sucking Adam's. Don't you dare talk about me like that in front of everyone, you stupid.
You need to go out. Yeah, it is because you are one. I'm about to lose it. I don't understand what Joey sees in her. I can't do this.
I did not think that in book one, Kiera Cass depicted something as abusive and manipulative as The Bachelor. However, this situation where you're constantly dressed up, constantly polished, constantly, have the whole team to make you look beautiful to go see the prince. Everything you do is scrutinized. You always have your best foot forward. Prince isn't getting to see the real you. He's not getting to see what you look like in the morning. You don't really get to know someone on the first date. You don't get to know someone until you start hanging out, watching TV, cooking and cleaning dinner together. When you really see someone is when you dropped the polished persona. And the very nature of this competition, the prince never gets to see the real them. And so I just felt like this is an impossible scenario to find someone to have a happy marriage with. Because you're only getting the polished version, and then by the time you pick them, then you get to see the unpolished version of them. But by then it's too late because you're in.
And I'm with you. I don't watch The Bachelor, Bachelorette. It's not really my show. I do think in some cases, Kiera did a good job of the slow burn aspect. She had a lot of political and economic challenges that went on here. Because she did such a more of a slow burn with it, it did feel a little bit more believable that those stolen moments between Maxon and America, that it did feel like they were growing that friendship. Why you could feel it would last, right? It wasn't always about, okay, like you said, you have to be dressed up or you're putting on this performance. They had a lot of opportunities together outside of the girls where you could start to see that slow burn. So I felt like because of that, it didn't just scream all the time Bachelor. I didn't feel like I was watching it all the time.
The selection is mild compared to what they put the girls through on these reality shows. I didn't feel like the royal family was as abusive towards these girls as what I saw happening on the show Unreal. But you read the other books and you had more of an opinion about how abusive they get in the later novels.
You see more behind the scenes of people who have power and what they're willing to do to maintain that power, which means being manipulative, controlling, and wanting someone who's pliable and not outspoken and not speak up. So someone like Mare, who is empathetic and is outspoken, may not necessarily be someone that is good for the monarchy, so to speak. But I think it was a good eye-opening thing for Maxon too, right? Because he's their only son. He's always well protected. And I think the good thing about the selection was for him, it really opened his eyes. He had no idea the lower caste sometimes go without food or there's no safety. As the series continues on, you see a lot more of Maxon becoming into his own.
I'm way too analytical. I can't just read something like this and just enjoy the Disney princess aspect of it. I'm just I'm way too analytical to see the world that way. So I can understand that people, if you want a princess story, a Cinderella story where this beautiful young girl who's in a bad set of circumstances is swept off into this rich, wonderful, magical kingdom by a handsome prince, I could see loving this. I can't turn my brain off that much to enjoy it. One other thing that I did not like about this authoritarian government, that premarital sex and non-marital sex is punishable by jail time.
In America, we can't.
Why not?
You know why not, because we're not married. If we get caught, we'll both be put in jail.
I found this more horrifying than the authoritarian government in the Hunger Games, because in the Hunger Games it was everybody have sex, make babies. We need victims for the arena. We need slaves to mine the coal or cut the wood or whatever they were doing in the district. But this was just extreme sexual repression and oppression. I did not like that aspect of the book, and I didn't like it because I felt like the writer was not necessarily depicting this incredible sexual oppression as a bad thing. It's rather framed as like a kind of a moral thing, like, ooh, you know, we've got good little virgin girls in this world because no one is allowed to have sex. And it seems like this, we keep our characters wholesome. Kiera Cass is a Christian and believes that she is honoring God through her popular young adult fictions, even though it's not classified as Christian fiction. I don't like this depiction of an authoritarian government controlling people's sex lives. And then also, I live in Salem, Massachusetts. Halloween is my favorite holiday. Every Halloween, we get these group of fanatical Christians that come and set up a stage, and they have a microphone, and they scream out that everyone dressed up in a costume is going to hell for celebrating this hellish holiday. And so when she wrote, yes, we celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas, but Halloween, no. I was like, oh, come on. You sound like these people who come to Salem every year. I felt like there was this ultra conservative value being like shoved on me through like the book.
Yeah, I actually looked at it more of like as if I was reading like 19th century, right? Like Pride and Prejudice, where it was just like, okay, this is the world. I guess I put myself in that mindset, so I really didn't see it. I thought the Halloween part was a little weird as well. I'm like, why all the other holidays but not Halloween? Kind of looked at it as I was reading more of a historical fiction, and that's just like what you'd see in the 19th century.
Yeah, see, I don't know, because it took place way in the future. I have this thing about I want humanity to evolve, so the fact that in the future we would go back to that 19th century mentality, I was like, no. I really hope we don't revert back to this in the future. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the selection, if you agree more with Isis's take on it or you agree more with Lauren's take on it. Our next Romancing the Sunday is going to be The Heir and the Spare. And that one really depicts monarchy in a light that's like, there's all these like sinister, horrible things that no one knows about happening behind the scenes, and it's so good. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for Lauren for coming back on the channel. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.